Welcome back to Just Some Perspective podcast. This is your host, Mosh. Ramadan Mubarak to fellow Muslims out there who are observing. I myself am observing and have been fasting every single day of this month and will continue to do so, inshallah. And for the most part, I've been going to the evening, nighttime prayers. Um, I'm going to share some reflections from the month of Ramadan that I've experienced so far, plus some additional like random points and X posts that I found interesting. So time does tend to speed up during this month, and I believe the reason is when you have a set routine that you're following every single day. Routines do tend to speed up time. Okay, ironically, it's like a double edged sword. To have stability in life, to have um, focus in life, to have success, you do need routine and repetition. It's very true. And Ramadan is no different because you have to get up every morning at precisely same time, and you have to finish eating your sahur meal at the exact time that is mentioned, and then you have there's a morning prayer fajr, which is prayed at an exact specified time before sunrise. Then of course you begin fasting, no food or drink or sexual intimacy throughout the entire day until sunset, where you break your fast. And so, because everything is routine based, it just the days are just flying by, and I'm actually absolutely amazed that we're already in March. Like it's mind boggling because January and February were, I swear, were just yesterday, and springtime is basically here in Texas because it is warm in the 80s now and very warm and spring like, and the trees are blooming and everyone's gardening and everything. And just a little over a month ago, it was ice and snow everywhere. It, things change that fast. It's just actually incredible. Um, and so, yeah, so routine, repetition, even even though it's important for life and for success in any avenue, sports, business, education, healthcare, whatever. Um, it does tend to speed up your time because we do the same thing over and over again. It becomes a subconscious thing, and the only way to for time to not speed up so much is to change your routine. But ironically, Ramadan, by observing it doesn't really allow for that because the whole point is to sacrifice, right, the food and drink, and make a sacrifice on behalf of God who commanded it upon his believers. Okay, in in order to gain God's approval, God's blessings, God's forgiveness, and so on. Right. So that's the point. So basically in life and in faith, it still revolves around the same thing, which is having structure and stability in your life, putting your priorities ahead of you, and not necessarily dwelling on your feelings, just doing what you need to do, right, despite how you feel, unless you're just feeling like absolutely, like sick to death or something, obviously. um, but yeah, time does go fast, and like that's just it, that's just a part of the part of the gig, I suppose. Um, Evening prayers can go up to 2 hours if you are really praying all the way. The late night Tarawih prayers we call. So I typically go for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half or so of evening prayer. But it's immensely better than not praying, and it's simply just effort. Okay, um, making the effort is what matters most, right? Because the results, as we believe, is in God's hands, but the effort is in your hands, the believer's hands. Same thing is true in working out. Same thing is true with hiking a mountain, you know, getting a job, business results, whatever. So it's the same concept there. Um, Another thing is, for a coffee drinker like myself, you typically would have some caffeine withdrawals, having less sleep, or at least your sleep cycle is greatly interrupted. But the best way to compensate is via naps, of course, to no surprise. Naps during the day, a quick nap for half an hour or so is the best way to compensate, and then you will go right back to energized and carry about your day. Um, One interesting note is between the evening prayer and then the time you wake up, if you actually only manage to get a couple hours or 3 hours of sleep, um, ironically, waking up is easier because your body has not entered REM sleep yet, deep sleep, which is the state your body needs to be in for like really heavy dreams and a lot of cellular level, changes. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't recommend doing that. I'm just saying like it's easier to wake up technically in terms of being tired after 3 4 hours compared to 5 6 hours, even though you need 6 plus hours of sleep. So um, it's nice to go to different masjids, meet new people. When you keep going to the same place over and over again, just like I mentioned, routine, it gets so mundane, it gets so boring, and it's just same thing over and over. So um, for the sake of variety, it is I highly recommend exploring your community, exploring the area, go to different communities, check it out, meet new people. Highly recommend doing that. Um, every community and masjid has their own unique feeling, their own unique personality. You know, the one that's local to me is higher on the elder side and family side, and but whereas another one in Carrollton area called Kalam, which is a great place, is on the younger side. Okay, and everyone's a younger adult there, and everyone's friends there or something. So it's very different there. Um, I thought of one thing. If the game isn't fair, then to me cheating is okay by definition. What do I mean by that? I On a personal note, I tend to have sensitive hearing. Okay, I was born with it. I can't explain why, but I'm more sensitive to loud sounds, loud noises in general than the average person. And I know that because I can feel the pain within my ears of the same person on the loudspeaker, on the microphone, coming from the speakers, uh, compared to everyone else around me who are unaffected by it. Okay. So that being said, I can do what's in my control, and that's use earplugs. Okay. So in that case, that's perfectly fair because I have sensitive hearing, and the game isn't fair that I happen to be a person that loud sounds affects more than the other person. So then I don't see any problem using earplugs to reduce the sound level while still hearing enough and performing my prayers as I'm supposed to, right? So I just thought in a way, if a game isn't fair, then it sounds like cheating is open ground or anything goes, if you will. Um, and I want to touch on one point, which is many people. It could be older generation, it could be different culture. Many people believe by simply just praying and attending your local place of worship, aka the masjid, that everything else is acceptable and permissible. But that's not really the case. No, you can still pray every time, all day, every day. You can still go to the church or the mosque, and you can still be bad towards other people. You can still treat people cruelly. You can still have no patience. You can still have anger issue. You can still have lack of self control. That doesn't change any of that. Okay. Um, there's a beautiful quote I saw. Do not be fooled by your prayers and fasting. Look at how you treat others. That is the real reflection of your soul. Written by an Abu Hamid Ghazali. I imagine a poet or someone from a long time ago. So yeah, having not to brag, but simply making a point that I am generous and um, I do give out of generosity on many occasion, especially during this month, this time of the year. But that being said, every person doesn't do that. Okay, every believer doesn't do that. Every Muslim doesn't do that. And sure, you can say not everyone has the means to or whatever. Sure, that's fine. Um, Islam doesn't say give more than you have, right? It says give what you can. But many people can certainly give something and they still choose not to. Okay, so I had this conversation with the last gentleman on my guest on my podcast about a religion and its principles is totally different from the follower of the religion. Okay, it's an idealistic way of life and belief, and versus a kind of like a realistic human way of approaching. Okay, so yeah, I from firsthand experience, I've seen people act terribly during the same month that says don't do that. I've seen people treat their family members terribly and so forth. I've seen people not be generous and have no patience, even though Islam preaches all of the above. It preaches you treat everyone with respect, especially family members, and then whether you're the child or the parent, both have to have a lot of patience, increase your patience, um, give charitably, okay, give generously if you can, which I pray that I do and it is accepted, and yeah, have some faith and so forth. So um, just prayer and fasting alone does not compensate for the fact that a person does not give, a person does not show patience, a person does not treat others with respect or kindly. Okay, so that's the two things. Um, and I wanted to move into a couple points about breaking cultural norms and outdated norms. Okay, the older generation, a lot of them, and maybe it's really just people who are just tend to be more fixed minded. Not everyone's fixed minded, but a lot of people are fixed minded. So it's only their narrow view of life is their narrow worldview is the only reality for them, and nothing else is true. Okay, so there's nothing you can say to a fixed minded person. But a lot of people in the South Asian background, especially from older generation, who grew up in a different time where there was no technology, where there was a lot of scarcity. Okay, there's huge families. Um, they have the hardest time to accept that life is completely different in 2026, and it's not the 1980s anymore, and people don't just like get together because of like financial needs or whatever. Okay, or because family pressures them to. It's just not the case anymore. uh, is it the case for some people or more culturally attuned? Sure, but is it the case for a wide variety of a large number of like westernized, newer generation people? I would say no. Um, I don't want to call family or people out, but I noticed that older generation, especially South Asians, they do not actually apologize after a fight or after wrongdoing or blatant disrespect. They simply pretend like it doesn't happen, and they give love in the only way they know how, which is acts of service that I know, which is essentially like providing care and of your home and the kitchen kind of thing. Okay, um, and that's simply just a fact of a large number of the older generation. It is what it is. There's no shame here. There's no uh, not to put shade anyone, but this is just reality. Okay, there is psychological terms for this, but um, anyway, when you go on a healing journey, such as myself, I highly recommend your authenticity will irritate toxic people or people with toxic beliefs and attitudes. Okay, unfortunately, including family members. That being said, people can only understand from their own perspective. There is no point to explain yourself. There is no point to defend yourself. And people who don't respect boundaries, there's no need to try to enforce those boundaries any further. You simply enforce them by your absence. Your absence is the only way anyone will learn to respect boundary and respect yourself. Okay. Um, I learned to not engage with someone who's verbally attacking you. Okay, don't engage with them. Definitely don't engage in yelling and screaming back. It's not going to accomplish anything. You're actually giving them what they want. They want to drag you down to their level. But unfortunately, if you remain calm and centered, you're actually in a superior level here. Okay. Um, yeah, and in other words, this is something that we deal with in the South Asian community. Okay, not to call out anyone, but mental health or lack thereof is highly um, widespread here. Okay, and I've talked about this many times. If you follow any video before, you've seen this. We talked about it. Mental health is something that is not even a concept in the South Asian community, older generation, and most people would rather um, people would rather choose familiar discomfort, or how can I put that? Um, yeah, something that's familiar, that's painful, or stressful, compared to something that's unfamiliar, that could be that's different, that could be beneficial. They just do. They choose the familiar, no matter what, no matter how much pain it's causing them. They'd rather be in painful familiarity. Okay, so there's nothing we can do about that. But when it comes to your own peace of mind, nothing is worth your peace of mind to me. So if something's costing your peace of mind, aka verbal abuse, fighting, uh, uh, toxic behavior, terrible arguments with people or family, the best thing to do is protect your peace of mind and remove yourself from the equation. Best thing we can do. Um, Narcissistic people who are also weak, they tend to blame the world for their problems and then gaslight you on your reaction, even though they get under your skin. It's absolutely incredible. But unfortunately, that is textbook narcissism, and not that this is a concept that is understood by many people, but such is life. So yeah, anything that's costing your peace of mind needs to go, and setting our boundaries is all we can do. So lastly, I wanted to share a couple of cool share X videos here. This one's really cool.
Act as if nothing affects you, because once your emotions belong to the world, your power is no longer your own.
Yeah.
They will test you. They will provoke you. But a mind anchored in purpose cannot be moved. Lincoln lost more elections than most men have dreams, but he never blinked. Edison failed thousands of times and called each one a lesson. The giants walk through fire and don't flinch, because their vision burns hotter than the flames.
Yeah.
You must master stillness in chaos. Train your mind to hold the image of who you're becoming, even when life shakes your foundation.
Amen.
Discipline your emotions. Guard your energy. Move with calm. Speak with clarity. Act with unbreakable intent. Not because you're numb, but because you are focused.
Yes.
Because nothing outside of you is stronger than the decision within you. And when the world can't shake you, it has no choice but to follow you.
Yes, that's Napoleon Hill, one of the greatest writers of personal development in history. In fact, Think and Grow Rich is his book, and that's the one of the greatest personal development books ever written, and that goes back to like the Great Depression era. So that's the author of that, a phenomenal person. This is an incredible tweet here, which is 100% true in my opinion. The brutal truth about people: the weakest people are often the most cruel. The dumbest people talk the most, unfortunately. The most miserable are the most jealous. The most insignificant are the most arrogant. The wisest remain calm. The strongest are always kind. The smartest often stay silent. And the happiest live quietly. I could not have 8 better points of of real life truth than this list right here. That is 100% facts. Everything above. Weakest are most cruel. Dumbest, for some reason, dumb people talk the most. The less intelligent, for some reason. The most miserable people are jealous. And I can relate. I used to be like that, to be honest. I have experience. I used to be in this mindset, but thank God, when you connect with people with purpose and life and so forth, and you separate yourself, you automatically go towards the latter half, the wisest, the strongest, smartest, and happiest. Lastly, I'm going to end with one more here. I think this video is really cool. This one talks about frequency.
The ego, the frequency of limitation, the survival frequency. How do you do that? You need to sit down, relax, and become still. So step number 1 is to meditate. This is going to cultivate a sense of inner peace and calm and detachment. All you need to do is sit down, close your eyes, be quiet, and be still. You'll have like a monkey mind for probably 25 minutes, but maybe in the last 5 minutes, you enter just total awareness. This is very connected to that, but regulate your nervous system. I'm always going to say this. Slow down. And from there, you can do regulating practices like breath work, somatic practices. There's so many on YouTube to signal to your nervous system that you are safe so that you can come out of fight or flight mode. The third one is to release emotional blocks. There's blocks within you that have gone unconscious. There are shadow parts of yourself that were created in moments of trauma that come to the surface as your awareness starts to shift. When you notice you're triggered, ask yourself why. Ask yourself, what's wrong? So things like journaling, speaking to yourself in your phone on a voice note. You can do this also one-on-one with somebody. And the fourth point is to respond instead of reacting to reality. And you want to affirm to yourself, even when inherently negative things are happening, everything is happening for my good, and radically accept everything in your reality. When things are not perfect in your reality, but you don't let that sway you, you accept it anyway, you stay in your state of calm and peace anyway, that is going to make you so magnetic. Everything that is destined for you, everything that you desire will start chasing.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Yeah, 100%. We'll end on that note. Hope you like that. Highly recommend everything that this person mentioned. Yes, meditation, journaling, calmness, stillness, breathing, breath work. I've talked about this many times, and I will continue to. And there are bigger channels than myself that have been doing this for years. So you have the information. If whomever seeks it, they shall find. Okay. Awesome. Post your comments below. Hit the likes, thumbs up button if you got value from this video. And please comment and share what you think is good, for whether reflections from Ramadan or from personal development. If you like this, hit the like button. And with that, this is Mosh, and remember, it's just a little perspective.